He ran. His shoes slapped against the polished mall floor as the lights behind him snapped off one by one. The closing announcement echoed overhead, distorted and too slow, like the voice was dragging its words on purpose. Attention shoppers. The mall is now closed. He didn't look back. He already knew what was behind him. A metal gate slammed down somewhere to his left. The sound bounced through the empty corridors, sharp and violent. His chest burned as he turned a corner too fast and nearly crashed into a darkened store window. His reflection stared back at him for half a second, wide eyes, mouth open, face pale. Then the lights above flickered and went out. Something laughed. It wasn't loud. It was close. That was when he screamed. Earlier that evening, the mall had been loud and crowded, exactly the way it always was on a Friday. Music played from every store. Kids ran past holding pretzels and balloons. Couples argued about shoes. Nothing felt wrong. Nothing ever did at first. Ethan hadn't planned to stay late. He was only supposed to grab a hoodie and meet his sister at the food court. She texted him while he was in line. "Running late, don't leave." He replied, "Mall closes soon." 5 minutes, she wrote. He stepped out of the store and noticed the crowd thinning faster than usual. Store gates were already half down. A security guard walked past him without making eye contact. "Hey," Ethan called. "Is the mall closing early tonight?" The guard didn't respond. Ethan shrugged it off and headed toward the food court. That's when he saw the man. The man stood near a pillar by the escalators, completely still. Tall, too tall. His hands hung at his sides, fingers long and bent slightly inward, like they were tired of being fingers. He wore a dark jacket despite the heat inside the mall. Ethan looked away, already forgetting about him. 2 minutes later, the man was standing at the top of the escalator. Ethan slowed down. "That's weird," he thought. "I didn't see him move." Ethan pulled out his phone and texted his sister again. "Where are you?" No reply. The lights dimmed suddenly, just a little. The mall's background noise dropped to an uncomfortable hush. One of the kiosks shut down with a mechanical whine. Ethan heard footsteps behind him. He turned. The man stood 10 feet away. "Sorry," Ethan said automatically, stepping aside. "Didn't mean to block you." The man didn't move. Excuse me?" Nothing. Ethan laughed nervously and walked past him. As soon as he did, the footsteps followed again. Slow, deliberate, matching his pace. He ducked into a shoe store that was halfway closed. The gate stopped at chest height and buzzed. "Sorry," the cashier said quickly. "We're closed." "That guy's following me," Ethan said, lowering his voice. "Can I just—" The gate slammed shut between them. Ethan stood there, staring through the metal bars. The cashier avoided his eyes. The footsteps stopped. Ethan turned slowly. The store was empty. No man, no sound. Just rows of shoes and the faint hum of dying lights. "Okay," he whispered. Okay. His phone vibrated. His sister texted, "I can't find you. Where are you?" "By the shoe store near the escalators," he typed. "I think someone's messing with me." 3 dots appeared, then stopped. The lights went out completely. Emergency lights kicked on, bathing the mall in red. The closing announcement played again, but this time it glitched halfway through. "Mall is now. Footsteps echoed again, louder now, coming from everywhere at once. "Hello?" Ethan called, his voice cracking. "Security," a voice answered from behind him. "Why are you still here?" He spun around. The man stood inches away. Up close, His face didn't look right. His eyes were too far apart. His smile was stretched like it had been practiced in a mirror and never fixed. "I was just leaving," Ethan said quickly. "I'm waiting for my sister." The man tilted his head. "You shouldn't wait." The emergency lights flickered. Ethan bolted. He ran without thinking, weaving through darkened hallways, though knocking over chairs, slipping on something wet near the food court. He didn't stop to check what it was. Behind him, the footsteps didn't chase. They followed. Every turn he made, the man was there first, standing at the end of hallways, at the bottom of staircases, by locked exits. Ethan pounded on a glass door. "Open it, please." No one answered. The intercom crackled to life. "Attention," the same distorted voice said. "Remaining shoppers must proceed to the nearest exit." "Which exit?" Ethan screamed. "Tell me which one." The man stepped into the red light behind him. "There isn't one," he said softly. Ethan ran into the restroom and locked himself inside a stall. He climbed onto the toilet seat, covering his mouth to keep from sobbing. He heard the door open. Slow footsteps crossed the tile. A shadow stopped outside his stall. The man spoke, his voice calm, almost kind. "You stayed too long." The stall door shook once, twice. Ethan squeezed his eyes shut. Somewhere in the mall, a camera recorded everything. If you're still watching right now, don't look away. Tap the like button so the algorithm doesn't leave you alone in the dark. Because this wasn't the only shopping trip that went horribly wrong. The stall door stopped shaking. For 3 long seconds, nothing happened. Ethan held his breath. His hands clamped over his mouth so hard his jaw hurt. His heart slammed against his ribs, loud enough that he was sure the man could hear it. The shadow outside the stall didn't move. It just stayed there, stretched unnaturally across the tile floor. Then the shadow slid away. Ethan waited. 10 seconds. 20. He slowly lowered his feet back onto the floor. His knees felt weak, barely holding him up. He reached for the stall lock, then froze. Someone was whispering, not words, just breathy, broken sounds, like someone trying to remember how to talk. It came from the sinks. Ethan pressed his forehead against the cold metal door and shook his head. "This isn't happening," he whispered to himself. "This isn't happening." The restroom lights flickered, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed everything. Ethan screamed and kicked the door open, sprinting out blindly. He crashed into a sink, pain exploding through his shoulder, but he didn't stop. He burst through the restroom door and ran straight into the open mall corridor. The emergency lights were gone now. The mall was completely dark, except for one thing. Far down the hallway, an escalator light blinked on. Just one step glowing faintly, like it was waiting. Ethan staggered toward it, gasping for air. His phone buzzed again in his hand. Unknown number. "You can still leave." His fingers trembled as he typed back. "Where is my sister?" The reply came instantly. "She already left." "No, she didn't," Ethan whispered. "She wouldn't leave without me." Another message appeared. "She didn't leave alone." Ethan felt something cold slide down his spine. "What did you do?" he typed. 3 dots appeared. Then the escalator started moving. Ethan backed away slowly. "No," he said out loud. "No, no, no." Footsteps echoed behind him again. Not one set this time. Many. He turned. Shapes moved in the darkness. Tall shapes, short shapes. Too many legs, too many arms. They stayed just outside the reach of the emergency exit sign's faint glow. Watching, the man stepped forward, his smile wider now. "You missed closing," he said. "Now you stay." Ethan ran again. He sprinted through corridors he didn't recognize, past doors that shouldn't exist, storefronts with no names, windows filled with mannequins that looked too real, their heads turned as he passed. He heard plastic feet scraping the floor behind him. He burst into a stairwell and took the steps two at a time, tripping and scraping his palms raw. He burst onto another floor and nearly slammed into a security desk. A real person sat behind it. "Help me," Ethan cried. "Please, someone's—" The guard looked up slowly. It was the same man, same smile, same eyes. Ethan screamed and turned back, but the stairwell door was gone. Just a blank wall where it should have been. The man stood up. "Did you really think security would save you?" he asked. Ethan backed away until his shoulders hit glass. He looked over his shoulder. It was a store window. Inside, his sister stood perfectly still. "Emily?" he shouted. "Emily!" She didn't move. Her eyes were open, but unfocused, like she was looking through him instead of at him. The man leaned close to Ethan's ear. "She waited," he whispered. "Just like you." The glass shattered outward. Ethan woke up screaming. He was lying on cold tile, surrounded by bright white lights. Voices shouted around him. A real security guard knelt beside him, gripping his shoulders. "Sir, sir, can you hear me?" Ethan sobbed, grabbing the guard's arm. "He's still here," he cried. "He's everywhere." "There's no one else here," the guard said. "The mall's been closed for hours." Ethan was taken to the hospital. They said he'd collapsed from exhaustion. They said stress could cause hallucinations. They said his sister had already gone home and assumed he'd left earlier. Ethan didn't argue. But weeks later, when the police reviewed the mall's security footage to check liability, something strange appeared. At exactly 9:47 p.m., long after the mall was empty, one camera caught Ethan running, and behind him, something was smiling. The next story began the following month, in a different city, in a different mall, and with someone who had never heard Ethan's name. Maya stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for level 4. The doors slid shut with a soft ding. The mall was unusually quiet for a Saturday night. Too quiet. Maya leaned against the wall and checked her phone. No service. She frowned. The elevator jerked, then stopped. The lights flickered once, twice, and went out. "Hello?" Maya said, pressing the emergency button. Nothing happened. She pressed it again, harder. The speaker crackled to life. "Security," a voice said calmly. "How can I help you?" Maya exhaled in relief. "Thank God, I'm stuck in the elevator." "Yes," the voice replied. "I know. How long until you get me out?" A pause. "That depends," the voice said slowly. "Are you alone?" Maya swallowed. "Yes." Another pause. "That's good," the voice said. "It's easier that way." Her stomach dropped. "What floor are you on?" she asked. The voice chuckled softly. "Not one you recognize." The elevator lurched downward. "If you're still watching, don't pause the video now. Stay with us. Like the video and subscribe, because the next few minutes are where everything gets worse." The elevator dropped so suddenly that Maya screamed and slammed into the wall. Her phone flew out of her hand and skidded across the floor. The emergency lights flickered back on, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. "Stop!" she shouted into the speaker. "Stop the elevator." The voice came back calm, amused. "You asked where you were. I'm showing you." The elevator shuddered, then slowed. It stopped with a heavy thud that rattled her teeth. The doors didn't open. Maya pressed the emergency button again. "Listen to me," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "This isn't funny. I need you to open the doors. Silence. Then the voice whispered, Look up. Maya's eyes lifted slowly. There was no ceiling. Where metal panels should have been, there was only darkness. Endless and thick, like the inside of a throat. Something moved inside it. Maya backed into the corner, her breath coming in short gasps. No, she whispered, no, no. A face leaned down from the darkness. It looked human at first glance. Pale, smiling. But the neck stretched too far, bending at angles that shouldn't exist. The smile widened as it descended closer. Emergency services are on the way, the face said, using the same voice from the speaker. Maya screamed and squeezed her eyes shut. The elevator lights exploded. She woke up on the mall's main floor surrounded by paramedics. They told her the elevator had stalled for only 2 minutes. They told her she fainted. They told her she was lucky. Maya never used an elevator again. But 3 weeks later, she received a voicemail from an unknown number. It was her own voice screaming. The final story happened in a mall that was already dying. Half the stores were empty. The lights were dim even during business hours. People said the place felt wrong, but no one could ever explain why. Jared, Luis, and Tasha went anyway. It's just a mall, Tasha said, pushing through the glass doors. Y'all are dramatic, Jared laughed. Famous last words. They planned to explore the abandoned wing on the east side. Everyone in town knew about it. Construction signs blocked it off, but people said security never checked it anymore. The second they stepped past the barrier, the air changed. It was colder, heavier. Every sound echoed too loudly. Okay, Luis muttered. That's creepy. They walked past empty storefronts filled with dust and old mannequins. Some were missing arms, some had cracked faces. All of them were facing the hallway. Tasha pointed. Did that one just move? Jared scoffed. You're imagining things. A loud bang echoed behind them. They spun around. The barrier was gone. Very funny, Tasha said. Which one of you? No one answered. They tried to head back the way they came, but the hallway stretched longer than it should have. Store signs flickered to life overhead, spelling names none of them could read. Luis's voice shook. Guys, my phone's not working. Mine neither, Jared said. Tasha stopped walking. Where's Luis? She asked. Jared turned. Luis was gone. They shouted his name until their throats hurt. The mannequins stared back silently. Then one of them blinked. Tasha grabbed Jared's arm. Run! They ran. Footsteps followed them. Bare, scraping footsteps. Laughter echoed from the stores. A voice whispered Jared's name from everywhere at once. They burst into a maintenance room and slammed the door shut. Jared locked it with shaking hands. Something hit the door from the other side. Open it, Luis's voice pleaded. Please, it hurts. Tasha sobbed. That's not him. The door began to bend inward. Jared backed away, his mind screaming that this wasn't real, that this couldn't be real. The lights went out. Security found Jared the next morning alone, sitting against the wall, rocking back and forth. They never found Luis. They sealed the abandoned wing permanently. But people still hear footsteps there at night. If you've made it this far, don't leave yet. Hit like, subscribe, and stay until the end. Because the mall doesn't forget who watches. Jared never spoke about what he saw in that maintenance room. Not to the police, not to the therapists, not even to his parents. But the footage spoke for him. When mall management reviewed the cameras from that night, they expected to see 3 teenagers sneaking into a restricted area and panicking. What they found instead made 2 employees quit on the spot. The cameras showed Jared and Tasha running. Behind them, mannequins moved, not sliding, not being dragged, walking. Their plastic feet struck the tile in uneven rhythms. Their heads turned in sharp, jerking motions. One of them wore Luis's jacket. At 11:13 p.m., the cameras cut to static. At 11:14 p.m., they came back on. Only Jared remained. The abandoned wing was sealed with concrete after that. No more barriers, no more warning signs, just walls where hallways used to be. The mall reopened a week later like nothing had happened. People kept shopping. They always do. Months passed. New stores opened. Old ones closed. The stories faded into rumors. Ethan moved out of state. Maya changed her number. Jared refused to step inside any building with automatic doors. But the mall didn't forget. It never does. One night, a janitor working the late shift heard footsteps behind him near the sealed wing. He turned, expecting a security guard. The hallway wall was breathing. Another night, a woman waiting for her ride swore she saw someone standing inside a store that had been empty for years. The figure pressed its face against the glass and smiled until the lights shut off. Security cameras continued to malfunction between 9:40 and 10 p.m. every night. Always the same time. Always the same angle. Always the same shadow standing just out of frame. Management blamed outdated equipment. They replaced the cameras. The shadow stayed. A year later, a teenager named Noah entered the mall with his friends on a Friday evening. He lagged behind texting someone who wasn't answering. The closing announcement echoed overhead, distorted and slow. "Attention shoppers." Noah looked up. For a second, he thought he saw someone standing near the escalators, tall, still, smiling. He blinked. The escalator was empty. His phone vibrated. Unknown number. "You stayed." Noah frowned and typed back. "Who is this?" The typing bubble appeared instantly. "We don't like being alone." The lights dimmed. Noah felt a hand brush his shoulder. He screamed. Security footage shows him running. It does not show what followed him. The mall remains open to this day. If you ever find yourself shopping late and the lights start to dim, if you hear footsteps when no one should be there, if the closing announcement sounds wrong, leave. Don't wait for your ride. Don't check one more store. Don't follow the voice that sounds familiar. Because some places don't close, they just wait. And if this story kept you watching until the very end, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your own strange experiences in the comments. The algorithm loves engagement, and so do the places that watch from the dark. Sleep well.